Damien philosophy, I said like couple of, I think last month and weeks back, and I said I was gonna do this, and I said I was gonna do it this month, and it's a new philosophy. I'm gonna try to cover like part one, probably two parts. I'm gonna make this two parts, and then breakdowns about the virtual ethics and things like that. And then the last time we was talking about its connection with humanism. So we're gonna break this down. This is my actual content. We talk about a little bit of philosophy, new stuff that I've seen, and people that rail against whatever or whatever these these so-called happiness philosophies. Sometimes you see it in modern politics. We'll learn something, but it's pretty much I want to cover mainly, but it's like one of those things that you know. Let me kill some background for a minute. Yeah, I'm gonna take that off just for a second, and then I'll deal with it later. Oh damn, showing ass. I guess it's always some bullshit. Okay, I'll deal with it later. Yeah, Eudaimonism. It's like one of those philosophies that I'd rather touch on because this is something that I want to get into and just keep intact. So, quite frankly, I'm just gonna, you know, this damn thing with this damn ad. It's bullshit. Okay, let's leave it be. All right, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it real quick. We're gonna get into it. Let me get into the folder. Let me get inside it in the studio and get set up because I know people are not interested in shit like this, but we're gonna read something. No, this is not entertainment. And oh shit, this little lightning thing. Okay, we're gonna save it. Yeah, YouTube's been wonky lately. I know people aren't gonna comment on what's going on. Okay, Eudaimonism. This is an interesting subject. I'm gonna share the screen so you know how it is gonna go. I'm gonna go here for a minute to the philosophy basics, and then we're gonna break it down with the wiki and then explain it further. So, okay, we're gonna pick up the screen and all that. Damn, why's my connection acting up? Okay, tell me it's acting up. All right, good. Yeah, I'm about to say the fuck. Okay, I'm gonna read it wiki. Yeah, it's a Greek philosophy, and it's also Eudaimonism. This is common that people don't talk about. It's a Greek word literally translating to state or condition of good spirit, which is commonly translated as happiness or welfare. In the works of Aristotle, eudaimonia was the term for the highest human good in order. Greek traditions, but it's aimed at practical philosophy, prudence, including ethics and political philosophy, to consider experience what the state really is and how it can be achieved. It is thus the central concept in Aristotelian ethics and, and subsequent of the Hellenistic philosophy, along with the terms arete, most often translate as virtue or excellence, and pronesis, practical or ethical wisdom. Discussions of the links between the ethnic arte virtue of character, they would say, or eudaimonia means happiness, is one of the most central concerns of ancient ethics and a subject of as much disagreement as subject of much disagreement. As a result, there are many varieties of many varieties of eudaimonism. The definition and etymology. In terms of its etymology, eudaimonia is an abstract noun derived from the words eu means goodwill, and Damien dispenser means Turli deity. Later referring maybe to the minor deity or a guardian spirit. Semantically speaking, the word, semantically speaking, the word Damien derives from the same root of the ancient Greek verb means to divide. Duma, dumanian, to divide, but allowing to the concept eudaimia, eudaimia to be the thought of as an active link to with dividing or dispensing in good way. Definitions direct Greek philosophy terms attributes to Plato and himself, but believed by modern scholars to have been written by his intimate followers in the academy. Provides the following definition of the word eudaimia, but a good composed of all goods. But is Nicoan ethics, this is pages 21 and 1, wherever Aristotle says that everyone agrees that eudaimia is the highest good for humans. But there are a substantial disagreement on what sort of life counts as doing life is counted as doing is living well. But Eudaimian, verbally, there is a very general agreement for both general run for men and people of superior refinement. It says that in Eudaimian and identity living with the faring well with being happy, but with the regard to what Eudaimian is they offer. But the many do not give the same account as the wise. For the former think it is some plain, obvious things to the pleasure with the wealth or honor. So Aristotle points out the saying that eudaimonic life is objectively desirable involves living as will is not saying very much. Everyone wants the eudaimic, and everyone agrees that it's being eudaimic is related to foreign well and to the individual well-being. The reality difficult questions is to specify just what sort of activities enable one to live well. Aristotle presents the various popular conceptions of the best life for the human beings, but the candidates and that he mentions are one life pleasure. But number two, the life of political activity. Number three, philosophical life. So that's Eudaimonism, and y'all can see this from the wiki. I can give you this in the chat already. I read this off, and we're gonna read the philosophy basics. I'm gonna copy this, put this in the live chat. So it's pretty much, what's going on, Psycho 10? He's checking in. Okay. I'm going to paste this real quick. Um, I want to see something real quick. That's overkill. Okay. Yeah, it's overkill. Okay. Yeah, I know y'all can find it, whatever, but it's overkill. Let's go to the introduction. Yes, Eudaimonism is a moral philosophy that defines right action as which is to the well-being of an individual, but thus holding well-being as an essential value, and it makes up as a part of the system of the virtual ethics propounded by the ancient Greek philosophers, in which lifetime of practicing the virtue arte in that's in Greek, arte or something like that, in one's everyday activities subject to the exercise of practical wisdom, phronesius to resolve in conflicts or dilemmas which might arise, with allow the individual to flourish and live the good life. Eudaimonia, the term eudaimonia is a classical Greek word commonly translated as happiness, but perhaps better described as well-being or human flourishing or good life. More literally, it means having a good guardian spirit. But eudaimonia, as the ultimate goal, is an objective, not subjective state, and it's characterized the well lived life irrespective of the emotional state of the person's experiencing it. In more general terms, Eudaimonism can be thought as any theory that puts personal happiness and the complete life of the individual at the center of the ethical concern. It can therefore be associated with the ethical individualism and egoism. Now, this is egoism. I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to show y'all, yes, full moral agents, blah, 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 philosophical egoism and libertarian. And it has its basis supports some forms of libertarian or anarchism. Now, we'll talk about this in here. stream or something. I might talk about this probably next time because we brought up Eudaimonism. Let's talk about egoism. We're going to talk about that. Historic Eudaimonism, the concept came from the fruition of Aristotle's uh, Naka, uh, Nicomachean ethics, which dates from the 4th century BCE, although the earlier thinkers of Democritus, Socrates, and Plato describes a very similar idea. Socrates, as represented in Plato's early dialogues, held the virtue is a sort of a knowledge, but the knowledge of good and evil. That is required to reach the ultimate goal, or eudaimonia, which is what all human desires and actions aim to achieve. Plato noted that even evil people guilt feel guilt at doing something which is clearly wrong. But even when there is no fear of punishment, doing what is wrong simply makes people miserable. He further refined the idea of eudaimonia, claiming that the irrational part of the soul or the mind must govern the spirit, but the emotional and appetitive parts in the order to lead all desires and actions to eudaimonia, and the principal constitute of which is virtue. Right? According to Aristotle, eudaimonia is constituted not by honor, wealth, or power, but by rational activity and in accordance with the virtue over a complete life. What might be described today as productive self actualization, but this rational activity, Aristotle judged, should manifest as honesty, pride, friendliness, wittiness, rationality, and judgment, mutually beneficial friendships, and scientific knowledge. Epicurus, a subsequent to hedonists, agreed with Aristotle that happiness or eudaimonia is the highest good, but he identified with pleasure on the grounds that the pleasure is the only thing that people value for its own sake. That is, a presence or absence is something which is immediately apparent to everyone. But he also noted that it may be necessary for the forego short-term pleasure if that will ultimately lead to greater pleasure in the long term. Epicurus is a scholar against the Stoics. He has a philosophy called Epicureanism that I talk about, and it actually birthed the Victorian philosophy, which I'll currently known as utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is the greatest happiness of the greatest number. Basically, talks about happiness philosophies like Epicureanism, utilitarianism. Now, eudaimonism is a Greek version similar to this too, because this is dealing with ethics of these philosophies. But you see it in modern politics. You see it all the time. People quote happiness this, happiness that, and most people ain't happy in this world. I'm not trying to promote happiness. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that this is very common. It's missing certain people's lives. They don't feel happy all the time. Happiness can be subjective. Sometimes they need it. Most people really need it every now and then. They crave for that. So, and speaking of this, Stoics. Speaking of them, the Stoics also believed some extent that eudaimonia was the highest good, although from the virtue well-being consists of living in according to nature, and even if a perfect virtue is actually unachievable. But the least we can do is act befittingly the hope of approaching or approximating eudaimonia. Saint Augustine of Hippo later adopted the concept as a beatable, but is it Batitu? Yeah, Batitu and St. Thomas Aquinas worked it out into a Christian ethical scheme where eudaimonia is found ultimately in a direct perception of God. They will say the perception of God. Ultimately in the direct perception of God, they will say, in complete blessedness. They said complete blessedness. That's what it says right here. And Immanuel Kant was an important opponent of eudaimonism. He rejected the view that happiness is the highest good, but and insists that happiness can be an ingredient of the highest good, but only if it deserves. See, there you go. He believes in utilitarian philosophy as well. That's the concept. And still later, existentialism rejects eudaimonism on the grounds that happiness is just a Borgias fantasy. So basically, that's it with eudaimonism. But this is that type of philosophy. You know, that's the basics of it. And, you know, of course, and that's the histories of it, right? You got the basics. So it's mainly, you deal with the philosophy aspect. Let me find another appraisal of it. Okay. Let me see something real quick. So we're going to talk about the countries in a minute. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. We go back to our philosophies and classical views. Epicurus, it talks about all that. I'm just going to give y'all something to chew on. But yes, we're going to bring this. We're going to copy this. I'm going to put this in the chat, by the way. I'm going to put this in the chat. And I'm going to put this in the chat. And we're going to put this in here. All right, let's share it real quick. Let's talk about these countries for a minute. Eudaimonic. Yeah, let's talk about this real quick. Okay, let's go screen to screen. Let's go screen to screen. Okay, this is the United States. This is somewhere, like somewhere in the North Pole, like no, the United States right here. This is Canada. This is Alaska, and I think somewhere like Greenland. I forget these countries, like the North Pole. Some of these countries in the ice and the blue, they got this territory. And I think that's Greenland. One of these, I think that's Greenland and Ireland or some shit. This is Europe, and this is like the UK or something. Okay, one of these countries, but this is somewhere in Europe. We see the weird looking, and then Italy and things like that. This is in the gray. This is in the gray. They don't have it, but up in here, this is where the blue is. The low is 45%, 78% is high. Australia has it, and then you also have, I believe this is Japan. North Korea does not have it. We already know that. That's blank. And then South Korea and all this other stuff. Yeah. That's the US. That's in blue. So this is all in the air. This is where it's talking about eudemic well-being life. So everybody say they happy in America. I don't know about all that. That's in the blue. And the ones that's not happy is in a lighter blue. Like you see in Russia, and then you see the little dark countries right there, but US doesn't invade. It's Australia, it's countries in Europe, European countries you see. That's I just wanted to show y'all that. So come to find out, modern philosophical well-being. This is the Gallup World Poll data. They will say well-being. 166 nations based on the Gallup and World Poll data. That's what I'm showing y'all. And this is basically talk about who actually believes in this philosophy, whatever. This is their percentage of people believe in it. That's the highest, and most people believe that. Normally, you don't see this a lot. Some people don't get caught up in it, but that's what they say. It's the modern philosophy and things like that. Okay. Self-discovery, perceived development, one's best potentials, sense of purpose. That's number 3, meaning life. 4th, investment of significant effort in pursuit of excellence. Number 5, intense involvement in activities. And number 6, enjoyment of activities as a personal expressive. Okay. The positive psychology on Eudaimia. The questionnaire for eudaimonic well-being developed by the positive psychology list of 6 dimensions of eudaimia. That's what I just read. Okay. So same, everything else breaks down. And yes, Epicurus, they show him Greek philosophy and all this other stuff. You don't see people talking about this a lot. They don't talk about it a lot. But 166 nations, That's all I got on it. But we'll see if it's common. I'll say is. Okay. Uh, let's see. Let's read right here. Found some. What is eudaimonia? Aristotle, eudaimic well being. There are a million different ways to define happiness, especially in the field of psychology where operational definitions are constant work in progress. Okay. Eudaimonia is not only one of the oldest, but it has stood the test of time for another reason. That reason being, eudaimonia has the whole element of subjectivity built into it. It is simultaneously both less and more perspective and dives quite deeply into the ideas of virtues and virtue ethics. In this article, we'll look at Aristotle's definition of eudaimonia and its significant influence on the way of happiness and well-being are viewed with the positive psychology and most significantly through its implications for subjective well-being. Before you continue, okay, before you continue, we thought you might like to download the blah blah blah. Ain't nobody downloading that shit. Just get to the point. These scientific clients and plays. Okay. They said we already read the definition. They said the simplest translation, eudaimonia, blah blah blah, 2006, all that brief history, eudaimonia. Okay, concept eudaimonia can be traced back to Aristotle's Nicomachean ethics. Prior to this, however, Athenian philosophers such as Socrates and Plato, Aristotle's mentor, were already entertaining similar concepts. Socrates on eudaimonia. Socrates, like Plato, believed that virtues or attributes, the very idea of virtue was form of knowledge and specifically a knowledge of good and evil. Uh, Bobo Nix 2010, that is, he saw that the numerous virtues, just justice, pity, the courage as unite. That is, they all were one and they were all knowledge. Socrates viewed this knowledge as required for us humans to achieve, but the ultimate good, which was eudaimonia. And by us, Socrates meant the individual, Waterman, 1993, DeSessi, and Ryan in 2006. That's in their books. Okay. Plato and Eudaimonism. In somewhat similar vein, Plato believed that individuals naturally feel unhappiness when they do something they know and acknowledge to be wrong. But Price, 2011, in his book, they mentioned eudaimonia, according to Plato, was the highest and ultimate aim of both moral thought and behavior. Nonetheless, while Plato was believed somewhat to have redefined concept, he offered no direct definition for it. As with Socrates, he saw the virtue as an integral to eudaimonia. But one thing is worth nothing at this point. If this idea of the ultimate goal or for individuals is beginning to sound familiar, but the rest of us sure that is a good reason for thinking so. So the similarities between eudaimonia and the concepts such as Maslow's self-actualization, 1968, are indeed widely accepted in the psychological literature. Helazinlim, 2018, the Hints of Zelman, 2018. But given that we know that Plato mentioned Aristotle, let's look at what later believed. Aristotelian eudaimonia. Numerous interpretations have been offered for Aristotle's eudaimonia, with a general consensus on the idea eudaimonia reflects pursuit of virtue, excellence, and the best within us. And yes, of course, it mentioned all these other things, but eudaimonism is well known. People talk about it, they got these YouTube videos. I'm not gonna get strike on here. Not gonna fall for that trap because you know how YouTube be on that bullshit. They don't want nobody messing with anybody's content. You gotta do this and you share. You gotta say fair use, fair use, fair usos. A lot of people, but that's Eudaimonism. Oh, he got a new video. Oh, I got a new Oh, he got a new video. Shouts to him on KTB. Yeah. Let me get back on topic. Eudaimonism. Yeah. It's a form of happiness, y'all. It is pretty much like I said, man. Yeah, man. But yeah, that's the thing with Eudaimonism. I'm just looking at what's going on, but we ain't gonna get into it. Yeah, let me get back on topic. Find something real quick. But yeah, but that's Aristotle and their viewpoint and things like that. But Eudaimian, many examples, definitions. Was the damn a common sense? They were saying, okay, BerkeleyWellbeing.com. Okay. BerkeleyWellbeingInstitute.com. Okay. The history behind happiness, hedonia or and eudaimia. What does it mean to be truly happy in life? It is just a positive emotion and pleasure. Or there's something else. There's other less talked about part of happiness is eudaimia. Eudaimia is something like a flourishing or prosperity. So where does this idea come from? Let's dive a little deeper. Before we dive in though, we thought you might blah 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 interested in well-being quiz blah thing. Okay, who cares? I don't give a shit. What is hedoni- hedonia or hedonism? Yeah, hedonism. Happiness can be traced back to the writings of the ancient philosophers. Hedonism, originating from the Greek philosopher um, Aristippus, Aristippus, aims the maximum pleasure, positive emotion, and minimizing pain, negative emotion. Hedonism focuses on the feeling good aspects of happiness. But when taken to the extreme, it can be translated into pursuit of pleasure. Simply does what you want to help you to attain this. Aristippus, for example, lived a life in pursuit of pleasure, did anything for the sake of sensual pleasure, but he slept with many women. They would say, slept with many women, means fucked many women. He had intercourse, if y'all don't really know what I'm at. enjoy the food and old wines, and had a little concern for social standards, uphold in Greece at the time, given that he represents as an extreme version of hedonism. What might this look like in the modern life? Uh-oh. Let's talk about modern life. What it looked like. Oh shit. Yeah. I didn't see that. It tried to beat me off. The fuck? Shit. I lost my place. Hold on. In modern life, okay. Oh, let me try again because that book threw me off. Okay. In modern life. Although hedonism can be vary from person to person, some examples including consumerism, materialism, that's one, indulgent eating, yep, casual sex, excessive consumption of alcohol and drugs. That's what they look at. So those four things they just mentioned: consumerism, materialism, indulgent eating, they will say, casual sex, excessive consumption in alcohol and drugs. Well, that's kind of understandable. It's not surprising that the impulsivity and risk taking are often related to pursuit of pleasure. But is pleasure the same thing as happiness? If your answer is no, what is happiness and what it is made of? That's they asking for like a quiz. What is Eudaimonism? We talked about that. Of course, it means the highest form of happiness, humanistic psychology, Eudaimonism, and things like that. Okay, therefore, well-being theory, well-born. Okay, let's look at the theory of psychological well-being. One of the most common approaches to understanding happiness and well-being is the model of psychological well-being. Carol Rith, 1989, proposed her model of psychological well-being to capture all of the different elements in life that might play a role. Her model includes six key elements. In brackets, you'll see a sample in the item from her scale for each. Self-acceptance, accepting yourself entirely, including strengths and weaknesses, like most parts of my personality. Personal growth, achieving your potential. For me, life has been a continuous process of learning and changing and growth. Purpose in life. Life has a meaning and purpose. Some people wander aimlessly through life, but I am not one of them. Positive relations with others, meaningful connections with others. People would describe me as a good, giving person, willing to share my time with others. Environmental mastery, effectively managing your surroundings. In general, I feel I am in charge of the situation in which I live. Anatomy, not anatomy, but autonomy. Autonomy, a sense of independence, a sense of independence and control in life. I judge myself by what I think is important, not by the values of what others think is important. I do agree with that statement right there. Autonomy, yeah, that's the one I like. And then environmental mastery, yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Good shit. Risk model was rooted in other areas of psychological, like humanistic psychology, Kafka, and Cosmo in 2002. It is definitely broader that the early measures of by may have leave questions about the relative importance of each element. And for example, to me, it seems like the purpose in life would play a larger role, and then an environmental mastery. But perhaps this depends on each person. Some of the element also overlap with each other. For example, you might find a sense of a purpose in life through your positive relations with others. But regardless of these issues, this model presents some good ideas for how we can achieve eudaimonia. Of course, self determination theory, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to give y'all this, it's like a website. It's from Berkeley, Eudaimonia and things like that. Damn, this thing, would y'all get off my fucking screen? I saw it. You didn't get me that time. It's raining outside. It's cool down here in Georgia, so you know how it is. Yeah, winter's not here. Oh, it's gone. She salute. Salute, salute, salute. Salute, salute, salute. Put this in here real quick. And it's pretty much it. I'm just getting my things out. Let's see how much it is going. Okay. Good connection. Let me hear y'all. Okay. Let y'all hear that. It's 35 minutes in. Okay, good. Common Sense by De Geiter or something, De Grieter or something like that. Man. Yeah. Close. Talk about books and shit. It's so much. 2016 and all that. What is Eudaimia? Okay. But yeah, I'm showing y'all this we're on this topic since we got the map around the world. It's preaching, I post it up on screen, but I'll take it off and when it gets to the hour mark and explain my piece on it. And I'll talk to y'all about like 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm just gonna read off some stuff to y'all and what I found right here, posting links. Unpopular music making in Eudaimonism Academy, blah blah blah. So let's get to that part. Is Eudaimonism. I'll make a part 2 to this. I don't know. Uh-oh. Put this in the search. Let's get into utilitarianism. Eudaimic utilitarianism. Here we go. Here we go. Lesswrong.com. I just searched this. Eliezer Udakowski. On several occasions, he talks about Eudaimic utilitarianism by dark light. On several occasions, has used the term eudaimia to describe an objectively desirable state of existence, while the meta-ethics subsequence on Less Wrong has been rather empathetic that simple universal moral theories are inadequate due to the complex nature of human values. One wonders just what would happen if we tried anyway to build a moral theory around the notion of eudaimia. But the following is a cursory attempt to do so. Even if you don't agree with everything I say here, I ask I ask that if you I ask if you please bear with me to the end before making judgments about this theory. Also, if you choose to downvote this post, please offer some criticisms in the comments to explain why you choose to do so. I'm admittedly new to the posting the Less Wrong community, and it's a post. Would already greatly appreciate your comments and criticism, even though I use the imperative language to argue my ideas. Consider this theory to be work in progress at best. So, without further ado, let us begin. Okay. And they talk about classical utilitarianism. Okay. Classical utilitarianism allows for situations where you could theoretically justify universal drug addiction as way to maximize happiness. Here we go again. If you could find some magical drug that made people super happy all the time with no side effects. There's a book called Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, where this drug called Soma is used to sedate an entire population, making them docile, independent, and very happy. Now, John Stuart Mill, another utilitarian philosopher, I always mention him a lot, does argue that some pleasure are the higher quality than others. But how exactly do you define compared to that quality? What is exactly makes Shakespeare better than reality TV? Arguably, a lot of people are bored by Shakespeare, but make a happier by reality TV. Enter Aristotle. Aristotle had his own definition of happiness, which he called eudaimonia. Roughly translated, it means human flourishing. It is a complex concept, but I like to think of it as a reaching your full potential as a human being, being the best that you can be, fulfilling your purpose in life, authenticating happiness based on this extent, existential notion of authenticity, and thinking a better way to explain it is like this. But the classical utilitarian concepts of happiness is subjective. It is just the happiness that you feel in your limited understanding of everything. The Eudamic utilitarian concepts of happiness is objective. It is the happiness you would have if you did know everything that you know what was happening. Yeah, what was really happening. If you from the perspective of impartial observer knew that the total truth, perfect information, you would be happy with the situation. Would you be happy with the situation? That's what they said. The total truth or perfect information. Would you be happy with the situation? You would probably only be truly happy if you were in the process of being the best possible you. And if it was the possible reality, the thesis have another name for this, and it is God's will. See divine benevolence in order to attempt to prove that the principal end of the divine providence and government is that the happiness of his creature. 1731 by thus Bus Thomas and Baines. Yes, that is Bayes. Looking at the metaphor of God in the omnibenevolent God wants everyone to be happy, but more than just happy as docile creatures, he wants them to fulfill their purpose and destiny, achieve their fullest potential for greatness. Because doing so well, them to contribute such more to everything and make the whole universe and his creation better. Now, if it's quite possible that God does not exist, but his perspective that of the impartial observer with the perfect information and rationality, it is a tremendously useful perspective. To have to make the best moral decisions is essential to the one that Eudamic utilitarianism would like to be able to reason from. Such happiness would be the base on the perfect rationality and the assumption that happiness is an emotional gold state. It is a state that we achieve when we accomplish our goals, and that is to say, we are being rational and committing the rational activity, as also known as the attribute. For the reason eudaimonia as a state is not necessarily human specifically any rational agent with the goals, including says paperclip. Maximize might reach a eudemic state, even if it isn't sentient or intelligent in a way that we would understand it. But it is needed out, feel happy in a biochemical manner, only by goal directed and have some sort of desire. The success state, though I could argue that this is the desired success state would be the mechanical equivalent of happiness to a reality powerful optimization process that is in on the way that the paperclip maximizes feel pleasure when it succeeds at the maximum paperclips and pain when it fails to do so. Regardless of Eudaimion would not be maximized by taking Salma. Eudaimion would not be achieved by hooking up on the Matrix. So the Matrix was a perfect utopia of happiness. Because that utopia and happiness aren't real, they are fantasy. A drug prevents them from actually living and being who they supposed to be, who they can be. they will be in the living a lie. Eudaimonia is based on the truth. It is based on reality. What can and should I be doing? Should be done. What can and should be done? It is required to perform rational activity achieving goals, and it is a optimization giving all of the data. Yeah, it's a long read. It talks about utilitarianism, preference, and all that, and then he tries to discover. We're gonna cut it here because this is not much. Scott talks about it. It's my little spin. lesswrong.com by oh boy. He posted. You can also look at this. I'm gonna put this in the chat, in the live chat as well. And let's get this right quick. Let's go put this. Y'all can read the rest for yourself. I'm not gonna read all that. That's like time consuming. Let's see what we got here. And 45 minutes. Okay, good. Good. What are two types of versions of utilitarianism? The theory exists. Similar to that. Act and rule. We talk about this a lot. The Eudaimic, Mill versus Williams, wisdom, group of Eudaimic utilitarianism. Okay. This is 2010. This is old. This is old, by the way. For the love and wisdom, Mill versus Williams group, Eudaimic utilitarianism is an ethical theory which asserts as happiness is the only thing humans ultimately desire. Then the greatest good would be actions which results in the happiness for the greatest amount of people. Group Eudaimic utilitarianism functions with the utility principle, which states all actions should aim for what which is worth pursuing. And in the case of group Eudaimic utilitarianism, that which is worth pursuing is happiness for the greatest amount of people. As such, group Eudaimic utilitarianism is a consequentialist theory, meaning that the righteousness or wrongness of any action is determined based on its consequence, or again, and in the case of group Eudaimic utilitarianism, if the action results in happiness for the greatest amount of people. John Stuart Mill is a proponent of group Eudaimic utilitarianism, whereas Bernard Williams argues against the theory. In utilitarianism, John Stuart Mill defines the ethical theory of group Eudaimic utilitarianism. Mill begins by asserting the greatest happiness principle, which states that the actions are right in proportion as they tend to promote happiness, wrong as they tend to produce the reverse of happiness. The 211 and 12, the page furthermore explains happiness equals pleasure and or lack of pain, which is the ultimate goal of humans. Page 212. I would like to focus on the next portion of Mill's argument, in which Mill defends Epicurean ideas. Here we go. It birthed utilitarianism. Epicurean, you hear the word, you hear the philosopher Epicurus. They talk about Epicurus. Epicurean ideas regarding pleasure. He states that there exists different kinds of pleasure, and some are more worthy than human pursuit than others. His argument is number one, if humans seek pleasure above and beyond merely body pleasures, then humans are not satisfied with the simply obtaining bodily pleasures. Number two, humans seeks pleasure above the beyond bodily pleasures, such as intellect, of the feelings and in imagination and of moral sentience. Page 212 says three. Therefore, humans are not satisfied with simply obtaining bodily pleasures. Four, if and three, then humans' assertion which pleasures are more worthy of pursuit. That's four, and if, and that's the three, and that's what they said. Number five, therefore, humans' assertion which pleasures are more worthy in the pursuit. Six, if five, and then the humans can assertion with pleasures is more worthy by experiencing, having knowledge of both pleasures. Therefore, humans can only assertion with pleasures are more worthy in pursuit by experiencing and having knowledge of both pleasures. Number eight, seven, intellect who experience and have a knowledge of both pleasures. If pleasures will choose pleasure with satisfy their higher faculties. 213, number nine. Therefore, intellect humans who experience have the knowledge of both pleasures and will choose pleasures which satisfies their highest faculties and all this other stuff. Okay. According to Mill, pleasure will satisfy the person's higher faculties will lead to personal, logically accepts group, eudemic, utilitarian. However, they said, however, I question premise and rate because I am not sure how he jumps from people experiencing both kinds of pleasures to being unquestionable with the fact of people would choose the pleasure which satisfies their happiness. Satisfy the happiness. Let's see here. Faculties open up, find argument. Okay, meal and all this other stuff. So basically, they're having this argument about utilitarianism and their happiness and things like that. Yeah, this is from a book, Betty Stomer's WordPress. Um, this is basically like a book about the William and Mills argument. If y'all interested to read that, save that for later or whatever. I'm just putting something out, just putting it out there, letting that y'all can read or whatever, just it's just what it is. So, I'm gonna paste this right quick. This is something wrong. Ain't nothing wrong. I ain't stopping yet. People are looking at things and yeah. Oh shit. Oh, okay, 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 okay. I was out of here for a minute. Okay. Yeah, I didn't mean to. Yeah, we're gonna deal with that later. I'm gonna deal with that later. Yeah, because I watch it. Yes, it's 9 something right now. Okay. Yeah, ethics and utilitarianism. Okay, that's all I got on Eudaimonism. That's just a piece that we're gonna come with. So basically, it's talking about these countries that you see that's basically this concept right here, and it talks about Eudaimonism. But I'll make a part 2 real soon and whatever. So basically, the philosophy is talking about happiness in its highest form in the Greek philosophy of Socrates and things like that nature. I posted links that y'all need to see, and you got your philosophy branch, the wiki. Y'all can find that on the wiki. You can type this up, and then the berkeley-wellbeing.com talks about a little bit of it. It's just a subject that I'm just going to tap into mostly. Yeah, basically, it's a common happiness term. It's been around forever, so people get caught up with it and expect more of it, and then they expect that this is going to be the thing in the future. It's always exists, but it's just people don't talk about it as much. I've seen it a lot online on YouTube, but I'll be the first one to talk about it and break down its forms. That's something to delve into, but it's a theory. But certain people use it in political and politics. Is Eudaimonism is common, because a lot of these they use them in certain like liberalism and things and concepts that you see all the time. So yeah, it is not what you would say. It's the concept of what you do. It's like we see this a lot. So yeah, the hour mark is coming real soon. So I'm just gonna be waiting patiently and things like that. But yeah, that's what Eudaimonism is. You just really basically talk about this pure happiness in the Greek form. I think Socrates and all them they was arguing about points, and then when you talk about utilitarianism, you just really get into in this moment, so to speak. You know, but that's all I got on it. It's mainly I'm just looking at it for what it is, and it's an interesting philosophy, so to speak. So let's take this off, and that's pretty much it. We'll do a part 2. I'll figure out some ways to find a part 2, and then I'll bring up the philosophy basic. I'm gonna drop this down, and I ain't got much to do Thursday and things like that nature. So Oh dang, I didn't realize that's my live stream going in. Yeah. Eudaimonism, part one. This is part one, and we'll do it next week. So it's basically, you just have your moments, and then you just like that's how it is. So part one, we talked about the actual philosophy basics, and we talked about the principles and things like that, happiness and things like that nature, and then you hear what you see. So this here, this out the way, and there we go. But that's how I'm gonna look at it. But when you're talking about Eudaimonism, it is really that concept that you're gonna need. So you just see things for what you see clearly. I understand people. I understand people get caught up on a lot of stuff. So I just want to throw this one out there and just be well put and things like that nature. So okay. I'm just gonna go in here for a minute and look at something real quick. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna set this up on the side, but you know how it is. But mainly you just get caught people get caught up on it. Damn, stuff is falling from my backside. God damn it. It's always something with this damn chair. But I don't want my shit to fall off the thing too. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Turn the gain up a little bit. Yeah, I got my sound patched up. But that's how I look at it. When Eudaimonism, I think when I really looked at this, I said, man, this is talking about happiness, similar to utilitarian concepts and things like that. But people don't really get into it that much, but they just get caught in the wind. So it's pretty much like I seen for whatever it is. But then again, these concepts is what it is. But normally you see what's happening right now. You just going in and expect much for most people, and they just like whatever. But then again, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. But you know what you're saying. You know what you're doing. But that if people trying to achieve it happens. I might put a scripture based on these philosophies. Why people get caught up in idolatry and things like that. They think they can have Eudaimonism and Christianity, and it's crazy. That's why most Christians act the way they do. I'm gonna tell y'all a secret. They do this shit all the time. I said this in my live stream yesterday about this bullshit and about loyalty. There's no loyalty amongst people. It never was. It's designed to fuck you up. I don't have a different spin what I'm talking about loyalty. I'll sum up what I see everything doing and I'll explain to him why you're seeing why this world is fucked up. Well, they wasn't loyal in the first place. They're programmed not to be loyal. It's all a facade. Once you get older, you get a certain ways of looking at things is different. Now, people do strive for happiness, and I won't bring Eudaimonism as a concept. Eudaimonism is one of the few philosophies that I've learned tonight that I say to myself, this thing is very real. But it has this purpose. But it has this purpose, you know? It has its purpose. But then again, you just see for what it is, and I just expect people more about it. And then when people get caught up on it, they just like, all right. But then again, it's the hour mark, so I'll leave about in 2 minutes. So shouts out to Psycho Candy. She we here. Appreciate y'all brothers coming through. And this is like my actual content. I ain't gonna go over like no another hour and things like that. But I'll probably do 2 hours tomorrow. I'll be well rested. I gotta see what tomorrow's gonna bring. Tomorrow's gonna be something else. You know what I'm saying? Same time as always, 8:15. And this Sunday Madness 51 is gonna be on its way. And yes, everything's in the books, and it's pretty much it. And that's just how I look at things right now. But mainly, I'm just looking at it for what it is. So what you see is what you get. You expect much for people; they just gonna act up and act crazy. Why does people care so much? You know what I mean? And Eudaimonism is one of the few philosophies that I like to cover. This will be, and I'll make a part two and do some more research on it. Is it a thing? Because I've heard this term before, and yes, utilitarian. I heard that before a few years ago, and I'm glad I touched on this in 2021. I want to be something different on my channel. My channel is very diverse. I talk about a lot of things, current events, little political stuff, into philosophy and why people use stuff, and I put it in its proper context. People talk about these years ago. Does it really matter? And people get caught up in this the modern religions, or shall I say idolatry. They use terms like these and they think they're really happy. They're not. There is going to be some happiness and sadness in life, but sometimes you have to look how the world works. The world works in different ways. You know what I'm saying? Like, people get caught up on a lot of stuff and frivolous stuff, and they just get blinded by things like this. So yeah, this pent up aggression in the world. So with that, I'm gonna say peace. May y'all bless everyone. Have a good night. It's been real, and I'll be back tomorrow for Thursday Thrills. Of course, y'all already know what it is. Thursday Thrills 44, the 44th edition. So with that, I'm out, signing off, and shalom.